Canadians deal with government every day. We get up and get taxed. You drink your morning coffee, which is taxed. Then you go to work where you're really taxed. Corporate and payroll taxes are levied against Canadian employers, and capital gains taxes are imposed on profits. Individual Canadians pay income tax, sales tax, gas tax, excise tax, and even a death tax. We pay a lot. But most Canadians don't expect a lot. Canadians only expect that public officials respect all those tax dollars we pay and give us good services. Canadians demand good governance. But instead of good governance and fiscal prudence, we often see wasteful spending and ridiculous pet projects. And a lot of that waste occurs right in our own backyards. At the municipal level government, Canada's city councils are spending more than ever. They're losing sight of what is important and what they've been elected to do. City bureaucrats interfere with small businesses, homeowners, and residents. We've all heard of the silly plastic bag ban in Toronto that was recently reversed, but that is just the tip of the iceberg of frustrating municipal bylaws in Canada. Sun News Research Director Candice Malcolm is here to tell us more about this trend of municipal activism. Hi, Candice. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Tom. Good to be here. Yeah, I was looking at these municipal bylaws. There seems to be a bit of a trend of municipal activism. And when I was looking up, one of the ones that struck me the most was a new bylaw that's coming into effect in Edmonton in 2013. And so it's going to be an anti-idling bylaw. Basically, Mayor Mandel in Edmonton is making it illegal for people to start their engine before they get into the car. And they're limiting it so that for every 30 minutes that you're stopped in a car, you can only be idling for 5 minutes. Well, Tom, I used to live in Edmonton, and it's a very cold city. You know, in the winter, it's minus 30, minus 40. If you just get into your car, it's full of ice. It's frozen. So people go out in the morning, they turn their cars on, and they maybe go have a cup of coffee or read the newspaper and get in their car. Well, thanks to these municipal busybodies in Edmonton, that's no longer going to be permitted. So
are they actually going to bust people in their own driveways and have anti-idling police come to knock on your door while you're having that cup of coffee?
Exactly. That's sort of the silly thing of this whole thing. You know, in an era of municipal cuts and austerity for all governments, we're going to have what, anti-idling police going down the white mud, ticketing all these cars if there's ever an accident and you're waiting to get through. And there was another silly incident in Mississauga. So the city councilors there sitting around spending their time, the people have elected them to represent them, and these people are spending their time in city council talking about bird feeders. So I guess there were a couple of complaints in Mississauga, and the councilors decided to limit the number of bird feeders on private property to 3. So you can have 2, but you can't have 4. You can only have 3, and who knows how they got to that number, but apparently, if you had 4, you would attract too many birds, and
you wouldn't want to do that.
The city councilors don't want that, so.
And that's regardless of the size of your property.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you live on a very small lot or a big lot. That's the thing with these regulators. It's always a one-size-fits-all, top-down. So it doesn't really matter your circumstance. It's not even really clear what a bird feeder is. How you define that, but they're revisiting it because they've had some complaints as well. So
so the complaint was that they were attracting too many birds.
Yeah, too many birds
and causing a mess.
Too many rodents. So too bad for individual freedom or private property. The bureaucrats and the city officials, and I can't imagine bird feeder police showing up at your house demanding to count how many bird feeders you have on your property in Mississauga. It's very bizarre. And another area in Ontario, I saw a bylaw in a place called Caldon, and it's illegal. It's a bylaw, a nuisance bylaw that they have against loud public behavior. So no yelling, no crying, no shouting. So if you're crying in public, a police officer can come and give you a ticket, but you better not keep crying because maybe they'll give you another ticket. It's the law, I guess, to be happy in Caldon.
And no hooting, so at a kid's soccer game, hockey game.
I guess so. Who knows
no
how
hooting.
they can interpret that, but It's very silly, and you know, it's a waste of everyone's time and everyone's money. You know, these municipal politicians, they get elected. You know, they have a few simple jobs. You know, make sure that people's water comes out of the tap, make sure they can get to work, that there's paved sidewalks, get rid of potholes. You know, in bigger cities like Toronto, you know, deal with the subways or this whole bike lane issue in Toronto. First they spend $1 million putting in a bike lane, then they spend $500,000 taking the bike lane off of Jarvis. So, you know, these people, it's not really clear what the mandate is for these city councilors. A lot of times they get elected and, you know, they're trying to please their constituents. So if they have a constituent that makes a complaint, or, you know, a particularly powerful interest group or stakeholder, these city councilors want to please them. So you get these niche issues, city councilors just going in, and there's not a lot of accountability. So we spend a lot of time focusing on provincial and federal politicians, holding them to account and making sure, you know, they're not spending our money or wasting our money. But I think more time and attention should also be paid to these municipal politicians who, you know, are wasting our taxpayers, our hard-earned taxpayer dollars, just the same way.
Do you find municipal governments over the years have really lost their way in terms of the focus on what should be the focus on core civic services, the kinds that you mentioned earlier? I mean, you know, water and waste and road work and that kind of thing. They seem to be getting into all kinds of other areas in the last decade or so.
Yeah.
Do you find that they've lost their way?
It's yeah. You really see these pet issues, and yeah, I was looking, and you know, the amount of spending by municipal governments across Canada has almost doubled in the last decade. So there's upwards of $130 billion being spent by these municipal governments across the country. That's a higher rate of growth than either the provincial or the federal governments. And you know, these people, you know, a lot of them do great jobs. A lot of them are hardworking, and you know, they really care about their community. But sometimes that activism can be a bad thing because, you know, they care so much. You know, Mayor Mandel cares about the environment, and his solution to that is, you know, in Edmonton, getting rid of idling cars, which doesn't make a lot of sense for people who are getting to or from work. In Nanaimo, British Columbia, they banned water bottles. So, you know, this is people who are well-meaning and they care, but the ramifications are, you know, a lot of people are losing their ability to make their own decisions. So, you know, I think that these municipal governments need to focus. They need to stay on task within their jurisdiction and not get carried away on these little pet projects and trying to please different groups and please different voters, and really focus on,
for sure,
you know, what their core duty is. And that includes cutting red tape as well.
Thanks, Candice, for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.